Aloha, and welcome to the House of Unconditional Love. We are your ministers of unconditional love, and we share an understanding of unconditional love that reveals the heaven on earth that is right here, right now. Today, we're starting with some news, some exciting news this week, moving into spring and feeling the energy and the shift of things happening. And we actually we're in the process. We were in the process of looking for a place to do in-person live teachings, so that we can have
a house, the house
of
unconditional love. And
we found a place. And we're now in process of getting it ready and getting it together for a place that we can invite people in person.
Did we find a place?
It kind of found us in some way. It did. It was pretty incredible.
It's miraculous.
Yes, yeah.
It's miraculous.
Just the timing of things, what's happening right now is pretty special.
So we're in a time, and people say this all the time, it's the time, like in this time. And sometimes I go, oh, here we go. Right, because every time is a time, because the time is man-made. Well, if we follow the lunar calendar, we're in a completely different time to the majority of, maybe you're watching, what calendar do you follow? So we've just come out of one of the most holy, divine times in well, it's not every culture, right? Yet the energy of the time that we're in right this moment is how did that go flat? Do it. Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Microphone battery.
Okay.
Where was I? So time in history. So we're at a time, we've called this the revelation of your true soulmate. What does that mean? Well, at this point in time, if we go through, some of you may be Christian, some of you may be Muslim, some of you may be Buddhist, whatever your religion, some of you may not have a belief or a religion, your belief may be of something else. All are welcome. All are welcome. How I get shown as a mystic is I get shown through many different ways of knowing. It's not just one, because it's the energy that's, around and in the planet at certain times, and how humans interpret that. And so for some of you, you're preparing for, in April for Easter. Some of you may call that time something different. We just came out of Holi, Hola, so that's the Sikh and the Hindu holy time. We just came out of Purim, which was the 13th and 14th of March, or Adar in the other calendar. And there's many, many other ways of knowing about this energy. But why is it important? Why are we bringing it into this soulmate or revelatory way of speaking about it? And how does that relate to what we just told you? So over that time, just recently, the last couple of weeks, it's the being able to see the miracles again in our everyday life. And maybe you don't believe in miracles. I've always said, well, as far back as I can remember, that I expect miracles, millions of miracles in every moment. Every breath is a miracle. But when we're talking about Purim and this time in March, or Adar, it celebrates, in a nutshell, the last miracle, but the revelation of the true soulmate, your true soulmate, how you can relate and have a relationship. And so what you were sharing about, so we'll go back to that, because I sort of cut you off. I just wanted to feel that energy of the time. It's not just through a religion or through a belief system.
Spring itself has this energy as coming into anew, and the body feels this energy as we move through the year. It's part of one of those contraction release cycles. We're going into a part of the year where we're going into spring and everything is opening up, and our bodies feel this because the more sun we get throughout the day, the body starts to feel that the light becomes longer and longer, and the body starts to feel this opening up of the light. And it is like a reminder of the light in us. It's part of that evolutionary kind of contraction release process that we naturally go through. But this time of the year, spring, is very charged in many cultures and many religions, where spring really is that time of opening up into something new, something coming, something happening, and just watching the movement of the energy and what's going on in the world, and is this a moment where unconditional love is coming back into the world to show itself? What she was talking about, that time of the last miracle, that was a moment when unconditional love retracted. So we actually were able to have a choice as a human being whether to believe in unconditional love or not. that moment of our consciousness, it gave us a choice. And this time of year is always an opportunity to recognize this choice in all of us that we have. So just working on some
technical stuff. All right. So hopefully Instagram can hear us a little better. All right. So the exciting news for us and those of you that follow and are part of our community in the movement of unconditional love is that we now we literally bought the paint for the front door of the house of unconditional love.
Yeah.
And so we'll be starting to there's a bit of work to be done. We're going to clean it, bless it, and shift the energy of the space to the house, the physical house of unconditional love. So from in the next, probably over April, we will be streaming from that house live, and then eventually we'll welcome you if you happen to be in Hawaii to come and sit with us and see us live. But we will stream as well, continue how we're going. But how that came around, and this is the thing about the miracles or what you expect in life, like what do you believe is the potential. And you know my history, some of you maybe don't, but I have gone all over the world on the smell of an oily rag, as my mother would say, meaning the finances aren't there, but the opportunities that come in, or the finances might be there, it doesn't matter. But I can recall having $56 in my bank, being invited to Berlin, getting there, not worrying about it, how I was going to eat and everything. I trusted. Now, I don't expect you to do that, but it's my relationship with how things move and flow and the essence of really that revelation. And what we're going to talk about a little bit more today, and how the house and how the
we ended up this week in the same time of hearing about this house. We ended up getting our paperwork back from the government, so we are now official 501c3 nonprofit recognized by the government. So you can write us off more confidently, I guess, in the terms of the government and what they'll give you on tax write-off at the end of the year for any donations in supporting unconditional love and
So that was a big deal for us, because even though we were doing this, and we both have for over 25, more like 30 years, that coming together and how we came together is also part of that miracle. So talking about spring, we were both born in spring.
Yeah.
But what month is your birthday?
Mine's in April.
And my birthday's in September.
What?
But we were both born in spring.
Spring.
So talk about the parts of the world and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, there is she's actually from the Southern Hemisphere, which was interesting to us too, because that's the feminine energy in the Southern Hemisphere, and I was in the Northern Hemisphere as a masculine energy, and seeing how in the evolutionary process of the relationship between masculine and feminine, how that works, and basically seeing how that process is kind of being expressed through our relationship and our the way that we met, and how we're moving forward, and so far for how we've seen things happen, like recognizing some of the miracles that happened around our way and the process of what happened there.
I don't think we've shared that, but just in a nutshell, we'll share another maybe. I don't know what you want to share, but we were married on at the highest point in the world.
Well, one of the tallest mountains in the world, yes.
Yeah. From end to end.
Yeah.
It is.
Mauna Kea is the tallest mountain. Yeah.
I googled it.
Yes.
Right. And there were there were two levels, and we have the rose here because you bought this to celebrate when we got the official documents. So we're sharing it with you, but I also teach about the rise to rose, which is this time in history as well, going all the way back to biblical times. And so sharing this with you, but also talking about the rise of the feminine, but also the interplay. And that's the feminine within us all, not the rise of the woman necessarily, although we can talk about that and what that means for the those that identify as woman, the woo man, and the, you know, and then there's the human. So to the beloved, or God, or Hashem, or whatever other names you might have, I'm just going to say beloved. I work directly with the beloved. Unconditional love. We are the feminine energy. All of us.
Yeah,
you are too.
Manifestation.
It doesn't matter what physical body
reality
you have, because of the
polarity of the
polarity,
masculine,
the
feminine,
push and pull.
yeah, of a conditional reality. Is that the energy here is feminine?
So, where was it going with that? So the wedding. So I had this vision before you'd even asked me, but I already saw. I saw what I was wearing. I saw where we were. I didn't quite know where we were, but it was howling wind, and we were rugged up in these almost like furs, right? And right. I was like, I live in Australia. And
we're in Hawaii.
and now we're in Hawaii. Same thing. Where's the snow? Where's the cool? You know, that wind and all the rest of it. And it was on this mountain. And Mauna Kea is a vortex. It's a sacred place. It has to do with, maybe we'll talk about these another time, but the masculine and feminine line, or those, the Mary and Michael lines, or the dragon lines, you know, the ley lines of the earth, how the masculine, feminine energies move through the veins of the earth. Now, this house that we're sitting in, I don't want to go too much into this, is between those two ley lines, the red and the blue ley lines. So the power, so we know, and I've worked and walked the ley lines around the globe, and you know, that's part of the gatekeeping. So one of the gates is Mauna Kea, right? So how did I end up here? How did you end up here? You know, there are all of these stories that we could go, yeah, they're just stories, and we can make them as extravagant and dramatic and exciting as we want, or we could just go, oh yeah, that's what we did, and this is our life. So, and we do both. But to bring a point, to bring a story, can help you see that it's like listening with the ear of the heart and following the nose. Now, when you're not listening at that depth, what are you following? Who are you following? And often you're following the sound or the information that is encoded from the conditioned world. And it can be really scary to follow, to leave all that you know. I'm bringing Esther in. So Queen Esther, the book of Esther, right? We're in that time now where when she walked the earth, you know, was around this time, right? 13th, 14th of March, this 2025. But in history, so the energy of what her story reveals to us, the essence of, I'm going to say, the essence is the Shekinah, or the Great Mother, right? Is here, and we can tap into that. So when we remember through particular stories, through particular parables, through particular metaphor, which is my job in the world. It's how I see, how Esther came through. I didn't even know who she was, but she just kept coming through, and I'm like, oh, and for years now she's taught me. And even today she's sharing. And her story is about the last miracle. And what are we talking about? So bear with me, we're going circular, but that is the feminine, the circle and the line, right? And the stories are the circular aspects of, okay, what is that story showing us that is playing out at this time now? And there's many, many thousands of people who are preparing certain family, holiday, all of this sort of stuff. You may not, but you can tap into the energy in the field.
Yeah, it's
springtime, right? So the last miracle, let me stay on this point. What does that mean? It means that, so again, in the scriptures, and I say scriptures, okay, so in the, so many scriptures, different people's stories and beliefs and whatnot. So let's talk about the book of Esther in the Old Testament, okay? And in that book, there are miracle after miracle in the world that you can see directly and experience the wrath of God, so to speak, or the fear of God. Right? And if you read the Old Testament, you may not be that religion. Doesn't matter. Just for curiosity, I'm not any of the religions, just by the way. I'm the religion of unconditional love, which includes all of them. So we have this energy. I'm just trying to get myself back because I got off track. We have this energy. We have this, the outside miracles. So where this energy we call God in the Old Testament, where it was forced upon us to do and be and are and, act in certain ways, right? And the fear of God, that word comes up for the oldies, right? It's like, but the fear of God, and you read that book, it's scary. It's scary. For some, when you see the love and fear in the words, it's not so scary. But that's the era where that energy was outside and we had to do. So to merge with that energy outside, if you didn't want to, it could be forced. I don't want to say the word because we might get cut off. But it's like the masculine forcing themselves upon you.
It's not a masculine man, it's the energy.
No, it's the energy, right? It's not about man and woman. So is this making sense? Do you understand? Okay, because if you understand, then I'll maybe understand where I'm going. So Esther, to save her people, and there's a whole, I'll be teaching about this separately again. I do it nearly every year, but to save her people, she had to lose who she was to find who she is. And that can be scary, right? So to not go on about Esther, she's just, or that energy is a reminder that we're in this time and there's things happening that are not like, I was going to say like explosions and, in the, but the volcanoes are going off right now. We're sitting here on a live volcano that is flowing and, has lava, what was it, 600 feet high? Yeah. And so the energy is there. So I was going to say, it's not like, but it is. But you get what I mean, or don't you? Let me know. It's when the external representation of what maybe was seen as the energy of God, was taken internally. And so the book of Esther gives us another way of seeing, and there's other scriptures and whatnot. Tara, who happens to be my youngest daughter's name, but the green Tara, there's the white Tara. There's that sort of energy there too for Buddhists, and we can go into other ways too. But right now, the rose, the rise to the rose, the wearing of the crown. So both wearing of the crown. Well, what does that signify for your spiritual development and how you can be in relationship with another? The revelation of your true soulmate, how you can choose to step in. And do you want to say anything of that before I go into the next bit?
Go for the next bit.
Okay. So we're going to just stay a little biblical today, the Old Testament for a minute. So just hear it as a story. I'm not saying you have to believe it. I'm using it as an example of story for the receiving of the teaching. So how you can bring it into your everyday life, how you can bring the energy, how you can bring your connection to unconditional love in everyday life, like the how-to. So let's go first man, first woman. So there was the Adam, okay, who was all of it. All of creation was within. Okay. Energetically, right? So then when the woman came in, the man and the woman were connected back to back. Right? So we're talking back to back. We're one. So when we're saying we want to be one, right? Unity, oneness. This is what it was. Oneness, back to back, connection.
It's unconsciousness.
Unconscious. When we are in a relationship, and even if one goes, so you stay there, talking your truth, and I'm like this, I'm projecting my fears, the backside of myself, literally, the backside, the dark side, the moon, the sun and the moon, masculine, feminine, and so just hold that as sort of like a metaphor, right? When we are face to face, we're conscious in our relationship, right? Not just with this body and this body, but with the truth of unconditional love. Yeah. So the love and fear come together to create unconditional love. When we're together and not conscious, we are projecting our fears. So we talked about last week the fear of fear. So we're projecting the fear of fear of fear of fear. I call it the shadow of the dark. So we have the light and dark, and then we have the shadow of the dark. If you look in a dark room, or even in the corners, you have all the different tones of darkness.
Yeah. So you have love and fear, and then fear, 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 and fear of love, fear of love, fear of love. All these different ways of expressing that.
So in relationship, we can look at how we are in relationship. We can also look at the greats that went before us, whoever they may be for you, but they're all through many different, we could talk about the Hindi or the Tamil expressions, the Buddhist, and within the Buddhist, there's, all the different traditions of Buddhism, and we can talk about, we can go to all of those, but let's keep it sort of simpler. I was going to say, it doesn't feel right that choose that word, but because it's grand, it's great. So what we're saying with Esther is, to save her people, she had to stand in the face of her greatest fear, the king. And the king at that time was a darkness in some ways. He had beheaded the queen before her. Vashti that's on her. Put her head on a plate. Why? She represents the ego. So these stories are deep. They have deep mystical wisdoms to them. And so when Esther comes along and becomes the queen, right, she becomes the queen because she's recognizing how to stand face to face, or face to like with the shadow, with the, she's conscious of the darkness. Yeah. She's conscious that she needs to face and have a relationship with that fear. And by doing that, long story short, I don't want to, oh, maybe we have a little bit of time, but she marries the king, becomes the queen, and he gives her his whole kingdom and raises her up. And this is where the expression, they both wear the crown. There can't be two crowns. There's the moon and the sun, which is a symbols of the same thing, the light and the dark, right? And only one can wear the crown until they both can shine and wear the one crown. So in the teachings I've taught before, if you've heard teachings before around this, I would say, it's supreme sovereignty, like supreme, where like equality type thing. But what we're talking about here is beyond that. It's not the back-to-back unity, it's the front-to-front unity. And in relationships, I'll say this and then you can go wherever you want to go. In relationship with a marriage, a human marriage, if you're struggling, or even in a relationship, you don't necessarily have to have the ring, but there's a lot of symbolism around that and what I just said also. That you're in the stages, there's many stages of this development, and moving through those stages of being back to back. So when you first meet, you're back to back. You're in a relationship, and unless you understand the fear of fear and the fear of love, you're projecting your unconscious fears onto the other. And what will happen is the polarity. So I'm just going to tell a story and then you can break it down. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then some of you will split up, and some of you will recognize the essence, right? The essence, and work it out, try and find out what's going on. But really we're saying, if you acknowledge the fear that you have and how that's projecting, that will bring you face to face. And if one person in the relationship is face to face, you have, I was going to say hope, you have the ability to move on to other stages, to rectify, to repair, right? To be able to keep going to the next stage. And so you're sort of doing this flipping, front, back, I might be going, oh, you didn't do this or that or whatever, and then you might be going, right? Then we might be consciously conscious for a while, and it's awesome, and then all of a sudden someone's fear will come up about something that was projected out there, and we bring it into the or whatever, and it's this dance. It's normal. It's human. It's human. And so this dance, as you go through the stages, you get to the point where you see that, it's what I was saying to you this morning. I was like, humans are trying to come together to be like soulmates, like connected at this depth. And they don't have the the word. They don't have the not refinement. It's like a boundary. Can't think of the word right now, but I was using it this morning. Do you remember? Anyway, it was that we don't know ourselves enough, so that when we start to merge, it freaks us out, and we pull away. Rectification. It's like a boundary. Yeah. Like where do I start? Where do I finish?
And this comes back full circle around to the time that it is. You know, this is like an opportunity to acknowledge unconditional love, and it's not it's a choice, because we were given that choice through this experience of Esther and that part of our conscious history. That you know, it was a choice to whether to be in relationship with unconditional love. And this is key, because we all are given that opportunity. In any moment, we can choose whether to be in relationship with this. Mm-hmm. And this kind of dynamic that she's talking about between the masculine and feminine, between relationship, is really something that happens in all of us. What's happening in relationship with two individuals is just playing out what's happening inside of me, what's happening inside of her. Mm-hmm. And it's a visual way to work on the fears inside of us. Mm-hmm. The fear of the masculine.
And the story, the story is just another extrapolation of that. It's like everything is showing you what you just said.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really the choice to have that relationship from within inside of ourselves, so that we can be conscious of a relationship with someone else. Because if we're not conscious of our fear, it is driving the behavior. It is conditioned behavior. Whether we think we made that behavior or not, we did. We might have even trained ourselves for that behavior. But all of those decisions are based on a conditioned way of being. One that's afraid of fear, because that's the only thing that conditions us. Is when we resist an experience, we are conditioned by it. We have a fear of something in our life that is a condition, and it keeps us blocked in. And the one that we don't see, these two, this fear of fear and this fear of love, is what keeps us trapped in the ego unconsciously. And so the only way out of that unconscious behavior is to start having a conscious relationship with our fear. And that's a choice to have a relationship with unconditional love itself. This is the fear of unconditional love itself. This greater idea that all of this is unconditional love. So all the fear and everything that I'm experiencing, the fear and the love and all this stuff, and my fear of love, you know, is all my relationship to unconditional love itself. So when we say the fear of God, or the fear of, you know, the fear of unconditional love itself, is recognizing that all of this in our nervous system is a lot of information, and it's overwhelming, and that's what makes it our primordial fear. It is the fear that every other fear comes from. All of our fears come from this fear of unconditional love. And this experience and that experience, because unconditional love accepts it all. And our opportunity as a soul in a body is to accept it into the reality of unconditional love. So as we start to accept our experience through understanding it, we shift the paradigm of the reality we're in through war and separation and all that kind of stuff, and we shift into more of an understanding of our fear and our love, so that we can share it more consciously without having to do it through projecting our fear unconsciously through war, or through stealing something, or, you know, judging and blaming all the stuff that's going on in the world. When we understand what's happening, we have a way to approach it in a conscious way, so that we can shift it. Otherwise, we're just going to be adding to it through our own fear of it. And the actions we take may seem like they're doing something, yet they're not really moving us forward consciously, because it's like resisting what's happening. And yeah, there's a lot happening right now. The way to understand it is to accept it. Accept what's happening, and then approach it from that place. Because we can see that people are expressing both their love and fear. Right
Accepting doesn't mean just going, oh yeah, it's going on, and ignoring it.
It's accepting it in the body.
It's what action. It's what action, conscious action, you take. The majority of humans are fighting and taking action unconsciously, which is just, well, not just, it is building the fear in the world, which is building the shadow of the dark, the shadow of the, the dark, all the fear, right? So when you see an atrocity or see something, even in your partner, like, I don't know, whatever the example is, you can put yours in there, or what somebody else has done or hasn't done. There's a fear in you, like it's what's coming up in you. That is the gift of what wants to be recognized, what wants to be acknowledged and seen. Esther, to save her people, right? Thousands of people are going to be killed in this story. Had to go into the inner sanctum, the inner chamber of the king. So the inner sanctum of the king in the story is moving towards the beloved, God, unconditional love, Hashem, whatever you want to call that energy. And in the past, if you did that, you would burn up. Moses concealed himself to speak to God. In what? The dark. The dark light. There's history in all different traditions of the dark light that is actually lighter than the light, right? But there's a concealment so that you are not burnt up, that it's not overwhelming. So think about that. If that was up until Esther, if that's how it happened, that wrath, that burn, the fire of the Father. The Father, the masculine, the man is, well, both, but is fire. The feminine is water. And together they create steam so that they can go higher together as steam. You see? It's like you can't get the sense. What's going to happen is you're either going to drown him or burn her. Right? Get burnt up. It's not going to create the one of a better word, the alchemy, or the in that crucible where the I have a history in glass sculpture, so we use the crucible to melt the sand to create the molten glass to then create, right? So you're not going to get that shifting from the water to the fire to get to that next level, which is, in our physical, we're talking these higher levels that bring us the will, right? You don't have true will until you are able to do that connection of the essence, to really connect with what I call the Shekinah, but it is the Great Mother, or the Shakti, or the water, the great waters, beyond the little streams. So when we do that, Esther's able to go into this sanctuary that no one else, they were all too scared to go. But to save her people, she knew she had to step in and face to face, consciously step into that inner sanctuary, whatever it's called, and risk whether it worked or not. Because not doing something, was too much for her to bear. It's like she had to make that choice.
It's like a choice for each one of us right now, right? Seeing what's happening.
But that choice isn't about other people. It's bring it back to us, or you, and your personal journey. You're going into the, Teresa of Avila talks about the crystal palaces, the palaces within, right? And there's all many mystics that talk about this. I'm talking about this, and going into those inner sanctuaries within the self, right? Facing the fear of possibly moving away from parts of who you were to be who you are. And it's interesting because the last 3 movies we've watched have all been about this in some strange way. And I mean strange, like some...
They're expressing it in different ways.
Very, very strange movies. But there it is again, there it is again, there it is again. So, what is the revelation of your true soulmate? The revelation is, or the revealing, see God in that story double concealed. Wasn't one concealment, it was a double concealment. So, being in the world, doubly concealed. And so the masks that we wear to conceal that soulmate, right? That true connection to who we can walk with in every moment. So that is unconditional love. I'm using the story to try and break it down a little bit because unconditional love can seem abstract. Right? But unconditional love is the merging of we could say Adam, Eve, Hashem. Adam, Eve, God. We could say, there was the Adam and then I won't say it online, but the first feminine, the first woman, which wasn't Eve, and then there's 3 other versions of Eve. But this is all the mysticism. So rounding it up a little, because we want to see it, is that we say that marriage and relationships here on earth are about becoming one. And that could be so, but identifying who's the one, if that's the case. Are you the one? So we're merging to become more you? Or are we merging to become more me? Like, who's the one?
Us.
And so what we're saying is there's that merging. So when we got married, let me just say this, I know we're running out of time, that we went to the first level was 9,000 feet. 9,000 feet, and that's where our ceremony was. And then we went up to 14,000 feet. And as we were united as husband and wife, then we went to the highest peak to offer ourselves to the beloved. So that's the feminine. You and I coming together is the feminine. The human that's connecting to. So it's a representation, like even how we play out our relationship and whatnot. It's a representation. It's the metaphor and the parables of the actions and the deep teachings playing out in life, everyday life. And so there's, that rise to rose, it's the same thing. It's where along the way that you're uniting with different parts of yourself or different parts in your relationship with the other, and then how you connect in the love and the fear into unconditional love. Did that make sense?
Yeah. And, because we're in this time, it's just another reminder that it is a choice. We have a choice. We've been given a choice as a human, whether to be in relationship with unconditional love consciously or not.
Because you'll no longer be forced. And that was the last miracle of Esther. There's, that you have the opportunity. It's within you. The spark is within you. And Esther, the book of Esther, she has her own book. The women And those times, yeah, right? So there's significance to that story that goes even beyond what we've shared today. But bring it into everyday life in these times today, and it's still playing out that we have the opportunity to connect with the true soulmate, which is within us, and we get to choose with our free will to merge or not.
You have a choice.
So
Consciously making that choice or not, that's where, we can start to see that there is a choice. There's a choice that needs to be made, conscious choice, and that's all that like the opportunity that we're trying to share is that we do have a choice. From this reality to another reality, we have a choice. We don't have to stay here unless we want to. We're manifesting this, all of us. And so it's what we choose to manifest together. And if we start to see that this relationship of unconditional love is within each of us, we can choose to have that relationship and bring it forth into the world. And the more of us that do that, the more visible it is for unconditional love to be seen again in the world, because we will be able to see it in everything. We'll understand it and why we do experience fear.
And it is in everything, but it's concealed.
You have to choose to feel something.
Mm-hmm.
You have to choose to have an experience with something.
It's not just concealed, it's doubly concealed.
Yeah, that fear and that fear of love just keeps it away from us. You can't see it.
And so when we choose to have those relationships with love and fear, or fear and love, and we're able to bring love, kindness, compassion to our fears, what we feel as a sensation in our body, like we go, okay, I'm feeling something here, bring the consciousness to it. That's what we're talking about. To be able to then, consciously have those relationships, or consciously not have those relationships, and live your life. Just don't complain about it.
Yeah.
Or complain about it
That's
consciously.
Yeah.
Don't project it, right? Or whatever.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. Do what you will. And you don't have to listen to us. But if you would like to, here we are. 3 Sundays of the month. I think maybe not. I don't know. We might be in the house by next Sunday. No, we're not on next Sunday. So the next time we show up, we shall be in the...
We're actually, the next 2 Sundays are still in this month. So the first Sunday of April, 2 more weeks.
Oh, so April. Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, it gives us time to...
We will be in there. And we're just saying today, so we've got the paint to paint the front door purple and gold. And we'll see. We'll take some images. We may change the colour. So we'll see that we saw 2 colours and trying to match the colour. So it's like a vision, right? And we'll share along the way in Instagram and Facebook for those that are interested, just how this house is coming together. And it really is like a blessing. And it's not ours. It's not ours. It's ours.
It's the first house of unconditional love.
It's the first house of unconditional love, so it's for the community. So on that note,
we do a sitting of grace, an opportunity to heal. Sit from the waters of unconditional love. We'll start that with a single gong. And if you'd like to contribute to the sharing of unconditional love in a world of conditions, go ahead and scan the QR code there, and you'll get your official 501c3 number for that as well.
So you can claim it. Claim it on your tax. breath and expand it out together. Just to finish. And may you have the choice to choose consciously your soul mate, and see the essence of the great mother in all that is around you, to remind you of that concealment, that you can step forwards, choose in unconditional love to live in your everyday life. And may your actions, your speech, your word flow freely with the remembrance of unconditional love, the great, the loving. And may the blessings be until we meet again. Much love.
Yeah.